Embattled President of Zimbabwe, Robert Mugabe, has resigned. The surprise announcement made by the Speaker of Zimbabwe's parliament halted impeachment proceedings in the House against the 93-year-old who has ruled Zimbabwe for 37 years.
Members of Parliament cheered when the news that Mugabe has given up power was announced. Mugabe's resignation had been a key demand of his ZANU-PF party and the army. The opposition supported the impeachment motion against him. He had been accused of allowing his wife Grace to usurp constitutional power.
And the opposition leader, Morgan Changarai, who welcomed the president's decision to resign, is calling for an all-inclusive transition process. Meanwhile, an international law lecturer at the Lancaster University, Dr. Kwame Anjima, is questioning the constitutionality of the whole process. He spoke to Aisha Ibrahim on PM Express.
But the future of Zimbabwe depends on how the trajectory they take, what tangent. You know, the point is this, that they should be very careful. All is not hooray yet. It's
right.
It's not uhuru yet.
Okay.
Because the point is this, that within this kind of confusion, any other miscreant can use the occasion to cause confusion.
Definitely. Supposing
there are some NCOs, you ask the question whether the old man didn't have people who love him, who still are rather crying for him. Supposing he has those people, and then somebody pays them to do something. So the security of the state must not be taken for granted. That's the first one. The next thing is this, that the international community, Zimbabweans should be very wary.
Okay.
As they jubilate, they're looking for whom they can bring in as another puppet to stand in Zimbabwe and then help and say, this is plenty of money for you, this is what you should do, democracy, the ballot. But then, if they don't need you anymore, they leave you also.
Definitely.
So the transition must be held properly. My personal advice is that Mugabe will continue.
Section 101 of the Constitution of Zimbabwe stipulates quite clearly you know, who the hierarchy and who should take over in the eventuality of the resignation of a president, and then the vice president is to take over. In this case, as you rightly described, Aisha, the vice president was taken out of his position by the sitting president. Mind you, at that time he hadn't resigned.
Exactly.
He was the president, he was acting within the remits of his power. So this vice president has been set aside constitutionally.
Okay.
Then the president resigns. So we don't know who the vice president is. So talks of Emerson Mnangagwa taking over power. If there is a lawyer who is a constitutional lawyer in Zimbabwe, and of course someone who wants to take the matter on, there could be a constitutional standstill at this moment, because technically and legally speaking,
he doesn't qualify to be back as vice president.
We don't know who the vice president is for them to be making such speculations. And I was also wondering, you know, initially it was the fact that President Mugabe's party just denounced him, said that he couldn't be leader anymore. But that didn't affect his seat or his office as a president. And it was only going to be upon the proceedings of an impeachment that he could have been removed, or he himself voluntarily saying that he wants to resign, that which we have witnessed today. As to the vice president being in this equation, you know, the one who was Emerson being in this equation, the news of him ascending to the throne is very, very critical, and a lawyer could take this on.
One of the key challenges faced by women who are in agriculture is their inability to have access to lands to farm. And even when they have, they are given either virgin or fallow lands which are less productive, in a bid to end the hassle women farmers go through to produce crops. Canadian-based NGO Mennonite Development Associates, in collaboration with local partners, has organized the first agriculture land tenure forum in the Upper West region to solicit from stakeholders longer and more secure tenureship for women farmers in the region. Rafik Salam was at the forum and now reports from WA.
Having access to reliable and fertile land is key to the success of any farming venture. It is even more successful When women farmers have access to not only reliable land, but long-term access to them as well. Giving access to women to own fertile farmlands, agricultural productivity increases because farmers are able to invest in soil conservation and better farm inputs. In addition, household food security and nutrition are improved due to increased agricultural yields. Owning or having access to these farmlands, however, is not all that rosy in some parts of the country. The situation is always blamed on the culture and tradition of the people, which place women second fiddle to their male counterparts. Worried about the limited farmland space given to women who wants to go into farming, Mennonite Economic Development Associates, MEDA, in collaboration with its local key facilitating partners, organized the first Agricultural Land Tenure Forum in the Upper West region. Key stakeholders were brought together to solicit support from them for longer and more secure tenureship. Upper West Regional Officer of Women in Agricultural Development, Elizabeth Cortina, blamed the low access of women to land in the region to customary and traditional systems.
In the Upper West region, family land and skill land constitute 90% of the available land for agricultural purposes. A survey shows that men own 71.5% more than the women. In patrilineal system, the male inheritance system does not allow females to inherit land because these lands may be transferred to other families on the death of their husband or when the female goes to marry from another family.
MEDA is implementing the Greater Rural Opportunities for Women GROW project, focusing on economic empowerment of women through the soybean value chain using a business approach. The project is being implemented in 8 districts in the Upper West region. Women are equipped to produce soybean, access markets, and extensive information and utilize soybean in their households. Country Program Manager of MEDA, Karen Walsh, noted that giving long-term access of land to women to farm will not only improve the living conditions of their families, but will make them entrepreneurs as well.
So what we're asking in this forum, and which is one of the largest forums of ever to be held in Upper West, is to talk about land rights and land access for women. So if we have land access for women from 5 to 10 years, we will see not only it benefit the children, the household, but the whole Upper West region, because we are looking at changing the entire way agriculture is done inside of Upper West. We don't grow soybeans because they are there for sustainable agriculture. We do this because we are market-based. We want our women to take their soy, to not only consume it, but also to market and sell it. And what we've seen is incredible. We've seen the incidence of food insecurity drop. We've seen our women be able to have their children go to school, buy their uniforms. We now see women going out there and they become entrepreneurs.
Some of the participants spoke about the benefits that the people will derive if women are given access to farm on fertile farmlands.
Women form part of us. The men at times are simply negligent when we begin to say, women, you are strangers. Then I can fathom it that way. How can they be strangers? You go and bring a woman that this is your life partner. So in one way or the other, you are saying that your life partner is a stranger. For that purpose, she wouldn't get access to land.
The chief can meet his council of elders and decide that if a woman is given a piece of land to do soya beans under this project, the woman has access to the land for 5 years. The chiefs can also decide to earmark, that's what the land use planning is all about, can decide to earmark an area just for women. So let's say you have 20 acres earmarked for women, that 20 acres will be protected. Now a woman can come in for 2 acres, for 3 acres, and she knows that nobody would dare go to the land that has been demarcated by the chief. So they are leaders, they are the political leaders in the community, and they are literally the policy makers.
Reporting for JoyNews, Rafiq Salam. Wow.
And before we go, government has to do more to save the country's dwindling fish stock. And that's a call from the Sustainable Fisheries Management Project. The head of the project, Maurice Knight, says illegal fishing practices and overfishing contribute largely to the depleting fish stock in the sea, thereby impoverishing those who depend on the produce from the sea to make a living. Mr. Knight expects that government does not relent in its effort to fight what is called sea galamsey. Richard JoyNews has more.
In 2012, the European Commission gave Ghana what seems like a yellow card for its fish export to the EU market due to the country's failure to control illegal, unreported and unregulated fishing practices. The ban was, however, lifted in 2015 when the country showed new commitment in tackling the challenges. However, overfishing and illegal fishing practices, particularly inshore waters on small pelagics, continue to threaten livelihoods and food security. Women and children are the hardest hit in all of these. The boss of the Sustainable Fisheries Management Project, Maurice Knight, said while it was important to stress the need for efficient fish processing practices as well as improved sanitation and hygiene in fishing communities among others, it was equally essential for the government to work to fight the illegal activities on the sea to better the lives of the people whose lives depend on it.
But what do we mean by galamsey of the sea? It means taking something from the sea that has impact on other people's lives. Right now, there's a galamsey of the sea going on. We have so many boats in the ocean, chasing so few fish. Many of you may see it already, but the catch in the ocean is going down. We are taking so many fish from the sea that we are slowly dwindling the population down to nothing, particularly those fish that you and I eat. Small mackerel, sardines. These are the fish that we all depend on. It's time that we take action, not only on the hygiene and processing of fish that we get, but also take action to protect those fish that we have in the sea. The galamsey of the sea is a threat to all our livelihoods.
Executive Director of the Development Action Association, Lydia Sasu, underscored the worrying effect of the use of illegal, unregulated and unreported fishing methods and illegal mining, which were making women, who constituted a larger percent of workers involved directly and indirectly in the sectors, poorer.
We are looking at how we could restock or rebuild the sardinella in the sea, because our sisters along the beach, we are facing a lot of problem of poverty, and it's all like using IUU in destroying the fish in the sea, and then using other methods which is not even good for the human consumption. And this is a challenge that is bringing out poverty and not taking care of their children, and children are going through child labor, and the handling of the fish is also another problem.
The Sustainable Fisheries Management Project is a 5-year food security project that seeks to rebuild targeted marine fish stocks through the adoption of sustainable fishing practices and exploitation levels. Richard JoyNews, JoyNews, Cape Coast.
And that's it for the latest news update.